An out-of-body experience is a kind of experience where you actually physically, it's hard to say physically, but there's a sense of physical detachment from your body. So most commonly this happens in times of sleep, but it can also happen when an individual is going through trauma, a very frightening experience. Something bad is happening to them, something highly pleasurable is happening to them, or sometimes it takes people totally by surprise. But the main component of the OBE is that you have the sensation of being out of your body. For some people, they might just hover above their bodies. They might have the sensation of looking at their bodies below them as they're in rest or repose. And some might actually take off and travel. They might go down the street. They might be able to travel across the country. Anita Moorjani, when she was having her near-death experience, this is the author of Dying to Be Me, she was able to leave her body and actually have a sense of all things happening at the same time and to be everywhere at the same time. So she was able to see her brother on the airplane as he was rushing to her side as she died. And she was also able to see from a different perspective her husband at the bedside. So an OBE can encompass all of those experiences. You get out of this duality of mind-brain that I have to be in my body in order to actually experience life. And you're able to see from multiple perspectives. Some people even go to higher realms. They'll have accounts of going to hell or going to heaven or going to other planets, but they are detached from their bodies. Eventually, they come back in and they settle back in. And actually, that can be pretty jarring for them as they attempt to reintegrate into a body that now feels awfully restrictive once they've escaped and had a chance to travel around as almost a disembodied spirit.
So, as you can tell, as she's saying, the categories are a bit fluid. The out-of-body experience is essentially, you're traveling up out of your body. Doesn't need to be a near-death experience, but sometimes people like Anita Moorjani are having near-death experiences and they have out-of-body experiences. But there are some distinctions there, and that's why we wanted to look at this one separately as it is. So essentially, out-of-body experiences is exactly what it sounds like. True Christianity 76. This is Swedenborg describing an out-of-body experience that is triggered by what he's thinking about. One day I was in a meditation on the creation of the universe. Angels who were above me to the right noticed my meditation. They're looking down like, oh, look what Swedenborg's meditating about. The region had had a number of meditations and debates on that same subject. Therefore, one of them came down and invited me to join them. I came into my spirit and accompanied the angel. Something that I find interesting about that is it's sort of because he was thinking about this thing, it sort of put a beacon on him that angels, which are, these people who had been thinking about the same kind of thing or were involved in that, knew he's there. I feel like it's sort of like on the web, what you're searching for, what you type into the bar. People, this person's interested in this, so they get connected to a body of knowledge. You know what I mean? That there somehow, when you're thinking about something, you attract that kind of spiritual company to you, right? So he was focusing on something, and that led him to a particular out-of-body experience. And here's a story that Graham Nicholls told, where he had a similar sort of thing. He was thinking about a particular location, and that affected his out-of-body experience.
Well, I think one of the consistencies across descriptions of out-of-body experiences in pretty much every culture and every writer that I've come across is this idea that where you put your attention is essentially where you go. It's like your awareness, your consciousness, where it's focused will actually materialize to some degree. You'll actually find yourself drawn to that particular location, and that happens in many of my experiences. A recent example was where I was feeling a bit homesick for London, because I now live in Tallinn in Estonia, and I was thinking about London. I started to go into the out-of-body experience, and I found myself around 10 meters above the top of the Shard building in London, which is I think it's now the tallest building in Europe, or near the tallest buildings in Europe. I didn't know anything about this building at the time, so initially I was confused and didn't know where I was, and thought, I don't even know if this is London, for example. But then other landmarks and other things around proved to me that it was London, but I didn't recognise this building at all. So then after the out-of-body experience was over, it was interesting because then I could look it up, and I found that it had just been opened to the public when this experience happened. So that was kind of a verification again, a small verification that there was something objective to it. I can't be sure that I didn't hear about the shard or see the shard at some point unconsciously, but as far as I know, I had no awareness of that building. So that's an example of how your awareness can be drawn there. But I think in this whole area, I think people, for example, especially when there's a strong emotional bond or a love between individuals, that's often when people will be drawn to each other in the out-of-body experience. So that's very common as well. You might go to a loved one. This is often reported in near-death experiences, and also when people actually die, they'll maybe the living person, the living relative will see an apparition of the person who's just died and things like that. It seems to be that as we're human beings and we're most drawn to other people and relationships, it's most likely and most common in a way that we're drawn to other people. But I think whenever there's an emotional factor involved, that's when it's most likely, because if you love a particular place and or you've got a history there, or you've got some background there, then it's far more likely that you'll be drawn there in the out-of-body experience as well. So yeah, it seems to be linked to consciousness and emotion.
So he's saying that across a lot of experiences, this idea that love attracts you to think, like, if you have an affinity for something, someone, someplace, you get drawn there when you're in spirit mode. And this is also one of the basic principles of spiritual physics, as Swedenborg describes it. That's how that world works. You don't believe me? Divine Providence, 29. Got ya. In the spiritual world, all union takes place by means of attentiveness. When anyone is thinking about someone else because of a desire to talk with her or him, that other person is immediately present. They see each other face to face. The same thing happens when someone is thinking about someone else because of a loving affection. But in this case, the result is a union, while in the former case, it's only a presence. So, love brings you closer. Thinking about people gets you together, but love is what creates unions.